mass communications, and emphasizing my studies in public relations from Stockbridge, Georgia. And she is
Tiana Ashley Anderson, a senior biology major hailing all the way from Belle Glade, Florida.
and we have the honor and privilege to serve as your 13th Mr.
And your 83rd Miss
Fort Valley State University. And we would like to welcome you to the Dining Center naming ceremony for Mrs. Junia J. Fambro.
At this time, we would like to recognize the mayor of the city of Fort Valley, Mayor Barbara Williams.
And our other special guests includes Dr. Josephine Davis, Faculty Emeritus, Mr. Thomas J. Palmer, Staff Emeritus, the Alpha Beta Chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
And now, we will have the welcome by Gwen Ross, President of the National Alumni Association, Fort Valley State University.
It is not what you have, it is what you use that makes a difference. Our greatness has always come from people who expect nothing and take nothing for granted. Folks who work hard for what they have, then reach back and help others after them. Good morning.
Good morning.
President Jones, family members of the late Mrs. Junia Jordan Fambro, friends of Fort Valley State University, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to welcome you to the naming ceremony of the late Junia Jordan Fambro Dining Center. On behalf of the Fort Valley State University and Fort Valley State University National Alumni Association, we are proud to recognize and honor our alumna, the late Mrs. Junia Jordan Fambro, fondly known as Ma Fambro. We are inspired by her contributions and find it fitting that we should continue to honor her with the naming of this dining center. Mrs. Junia Jordan Fambro spent 44 years as a lead dietitian at Fort Valley State College. She was inducted into the Fort Valley State University National Alumni Hall of Fame in 1984 in the blue and gold category. Mrs. Fambro was known for running a tight ship in the dining hall and for her financial assistance of students. Unfortunately, I did not have the pleasure of personally knowing or meeting Mrs. Fambro. However, her reputation preceded her. And because of the many stories about Mrs. Fambro, I feel as if I knew her. Please allow me to share what alumni said who did have the pleasure of knowing her. Mrs. Fambro was unapologetically professional and commanded by her mere presence and her penetrating stare, unilateral and total respect from students. If violations occurred in the dining facility, she dealt with them immediately. She would take your meal if necessary and keep you after the meal, allow you to consume all the food possible, and give you a brown bag. The dining hall was always appropriately decorated and as clean as the Board of Health. Announcements were made in an orderly manner. When Mrs. Fambro picked up the microphone, all talking ceased, and the attention shifted to her announcement. She loved her student workers. She established incredible performance standards for them and monitored their academic progress, especially student athletes. In fact, Raphael Wright wrote in his autobiography right up front that the first place Coach Stan Lomax took him as a freshman on this campus was to meet Mrs. Fambro in the dining hall. Mrs. Fambro taught the students proper dining etiquette. She taught them to dine with dignity. They were required to dress appropriately for dining, and they did. On Sundays, they wore their Sunday best. She believed in decency and order, especially within her dining facility. She made sure she took good care of the students who dined with her. She got to know them, and in knowing them, she knew their needs. When many of them did not have financial means to continue and complete their education at Fort Valley State College, it was Mrs. Fambro who provided financial assistance. Her love and support to students never ended. In latter years, she established the A.M. Jordan Memorial Scholarship in honor of her father. One of the key elements of a flourishing, fulfilling life is a sense of purpose that allows us to find passions, pursue important goals, and live lives of authentic happiness. It is certain that Mrs. Fambro fulfilled her purpose in everything she did. The passion and pride in managing the dining hall, providing food for their souls, the pride she instilled in her students, the joy she derived in helping others, and the impact she continues to have on yet another generation of students. Many alumni expressed the desire to be here today to celebrate and honor Ms. Fambro, but respectfully declined due to risks associated with COVID-19. However, the most important thing they wanted me to express today on their behalf as I welcome you is naming this building in honor of Mrs. Fambro is authentic and greatly profound. It is the right thing to do and has the approval of God herself. Welcome.
Now we will have remarks and invocation from Pastor Terrence Gray, the former pastor of Mrs. Fambro.
Today was month of June. The day happened to be the 18th, 1989. I became the pastor of a place called St. Paul, EME Church in Macon, Georgia. There, I would soon find I was blessed and privileged to be serving two sisters and a brother living on Emory Highway. One was named Junia Fambro, brother named Jordan, and there was this wonderful shorter sister with some fire by the name of Carlina Hale. Don't let her last name fool you. Trust me, Carlina was the person in the house that looked like she kept the order. She kept her brother and her sister straight. That was until all of a sudden, the pastor who regularly stopped by the house to bring them communion started getting beat up by Carlina Hale. Carlina was the person who was telling me that Terrence Gray was changing her church, and I was, and that I was changing the fabric of the mindset of the culture. I was. I went to a church that was dying because there was too many persons who were my mamas and grandmamas in the church, and there was not enough of my age group. I was 23, and the only baby crying in the church was my own by the name of Johnson. Thanks be unto God, I had one ace in the hole inside of that house on Emory Drive. Her name was Junia Fambro. I'm talking about when I was in the house and Carlina would just ride me. It was Junia said, leave that boy alone. Give him an opportunity. The church is already dying. At least he tried to give it some life. Thanks be to God. Junia Fambro not only said it in word, but she said it in action. That means she would be the one that on the way out the house, she said, baby, put this in your pocket. Maybe y'all don't know about that. That means that she gave the pastor a little money before he left. In essence, what she was showing me is she was invested in not just in word, but in action. And guess what happened? Junia Fambro lived long enough to start hearing the investment she was making verbally in a household with a pastor, because she started hearing him on the radio every Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. And then when I went to the house, she messed with Carlina. You see he's doing all right, don't you? Then when she started seeing her church on television every day of the week except Wednesday, she looked at Carlina and said, I told you that boy was going to be all right. In essence, what I raised to you, the Junia Fambro we celebrate, is not just the lady who invested or stopped investing when she left Fort Valley State University or college at that time. I'm talking about a lady who was investing a lifetime. And so, yes, early this morning, while I woke up in a place called Orlando, Florida, after preaching last night for our worship service, ain't no way in the world I could not get in my car and press my way to be right here to celebrate a woman who made an investment in me, because I refuse to forget that I've come this far by her help and her hand. That being said, would you join me as them three folk out there, you know, Miss Benson, Miss Lamar, and Henry Lamar, who were members and are still members of St. Paul. I can't see the mask, baby. Hey, Miss Romel DeSimmons, that's good, but I can't see it in the mask, baby. I'm sorry. Forgive me, honey child. And Sister Romel DeSimmons, all right? Let's talk to the Lord and pray. God, we give you thanks and we give you praise for giving us Junia Fambro. We're thankful that you allowed her to touch our lives in a manner that allows us to come back to not only put our name on a building, but to acknowledge she made a difference in our lives. So on this day, we invoke your presence and her spirit, that as she cared for the students and as she brought a level of excellence to the cafeteria and as she brought order every day in the lives of the students, may that same spirit be a part of this new facility. That there be the decorum, there be the atmosphere, and there be the divine presence of a woman who gave her best to be a blessing to the masses. I thank you, we bless you, and we magnify you for your presence being in this place. In the wonderful name of Jesus we pray. Thank God and amen.
We would also like to recognize the members of the President's Cabinet. Please stand to be recognized at this time.
Next, we will have the occasion by Mr. Thomas W. Dortch, Jr., a former student of our beloved institution.
to say to all of the Wildcat family, hello and welcome. And so I want to welcome my family and friends. And we're moved today that all of you joined us for what is a milestone occasion for this great university. And of course, considering the challenges that we have from this global pandemic, it really is good to see all of you out. I've been basically in quarantine for over 6 months. I've closed 5 of my businesses and all my staff works again. They've learned to work, hopefully, daily. They've learned to work remotely except for one company. We run part of the MARTA system in Atlanta. So being here today, this is only the 3rd time in 6 months I've been at any public function. The first function was to meet with Vice President Pence, give him an earful about inclusion of Black people in the CARES Act. I met with him in Atlanta and secured the cabinet members. And then, of course, my great leader and friend, Dr. C.T. Vivian's funeral during the 50th as well. And, of course, to be here at this occasion for such a phenomenal lady who made a difference in so many lives. And so I want to say thank you, and I'm happy to see all of you here. This year marks the 125th anniversary of our great institution, this historic land-grant institution, and which has made such a difference in this city, in this nation, and of course in the world. And so FVSU asked me to share the story of our iconic alumni. Again, a trailblazer who's made, again, table manners, and we got those table manners and nutritious meals top priority on this campus for nearly 40 years. I look at my advisor and think about when I first came here. 52 years ago this month, I came to this campus. 52 years, Tom Palmer, who guided me when I was on this campus. When I first met a person that we affectionately call Ma Fambro. Ma Fambro was, again, a real lady. When she walked into the room, things got quiet. It kind of reminded me of my grandmother at home, my mama. There were rules that we lived by, and it was amazing coming here. I thought I'd have a little extra freedom. But my first exposure was having that mama and grandmama away from home who really looked at you. We're honoring today the late Junia J. Fambro. Ms. Fambro was blessed to have lived 105 years. I was blessed. I thought it was a great mama that lived to be 96 years young. But again, as I think about what she meant to all of us, I want to just share some of the great accomplishments that for this history-making movement for us today. Mrs. Fambro's deep-rooted affinity for fine dining and, of course, a proper diet for Fort Valley State University is one of the main reasons we're renaming our food service center here today the Junia J. Fambro Dining Center as of the 10th of this month. I want to highlight again some of the great things about this phenomenal lady. She's a native of Macon, Georgia, and Mrs. Fambro knew the opportunities for higher education and why it was so important. And that's why it was important that she pushed and influenced and supported students at this great institution. She graduated from Morris Brown College in Atlanta with a pedagogy degree. She also studied at Columbia, Hampton, and Atlanta University. A domestic science major as well as Mrs. Fambro ended up teaching this very subject at Fort Valley State College as it was known then. She was eventually appointed dietitian for this institution in 1932, and she held this position proudly. I remember when we were here as a freshman in 1968 to tell you about the fear and respect for Ma Fambro. The upperclassmen had decided they were going to demonstrate. They were going to take over the dining hall. They were going to lock it up, We sat in as freshmen, and then they told us freshmen, you can't go because you might get kicked out. We've been here on campus. And we went in, they went in, we observed it. The one reason they went in on the day they did, my Fambro was not going to be on campus. So they were smart. Ma would have kicked the door down, and that would have been the end of it. And so we went in, but there was one guy here, and Coach Lomax, the late Coach Lomax, named him Crying Shane. Crying Shane was 400 pounds. And I remember Coach had asked him, how many push-ups can you do? He said, one. He said, get down there and give me as many as you can. You could only do one, and Coach named him Crying Shane. When they went in the dining hall with the rules that nobody would go in and touch the food and everything, the upperclassmen told us that Crying Shane went straight to the dining hall and started eating, and nobody had the nerve to tell him he couldn't eat. But as a result of that, the demonstration wasn't just about the restaurant, the dining hall, because members of the upper class and all complained that Ma said you could have one carton of milk. She said one, you only had one. But we had the food. But as a result, there were a number of things that this great campus taught us about speaking up and speaking out. Of course, when Ma came back the next day, everything was back in order, and nobody wanted to be identified as having been a part of the demonstration. And us freshmen made it clear to Ma Fambro we have nothing to do with it. So let's not forget again that in 1932, when Ma Fambro was named, think about what was going on in America. Almost 50% of all African Americans were unemployed due to the Great Depression. Also during that time, because of the racial violence and especially lynchings that were going on in the South. And again, the problems that were there, Ma Fambro was focused. And so again, education was there, making sure etiquette was a part of it, because she knew when we left this campus, we had to be prepared anywhere in the world. Again, because of her dedication to students, faculty, staff, Ma Fambro received, of course, Outstanding Service Awards from my athletic department and for organizations across this campus. Again, she really was a family person. And again, she loved her church, St. Paul AME Church. And of course, she made her presence heard and seen there, as the pastor made it clear. Again, as I bring it close, as a dietitian for 3 decades, Ma Fambro managed the university's dining hall, meal plans for students. Again, she taught in the classroom, taught etiquette, and clearly was a force to be reckoned with for this great university. Her niece, Nancy Jordan of Ohio, described her best. She exemplified mother wit. She made sure everyone around her had what they needed, and whether a good meal or good advice, she gave it. So with that, we thank her for her years of unwavering commitment to providing a high standard nutrition, etiquette, and of course, poise to generations of Fort Valley State University students. Today, we continue to honor this great lady, this legacy, as we name this newly renovated dining hall, the Junia J. Fambro Dining Center. And so, Dr. Jones, with that, I want to commit today another $5,000 to my scholarship fund here on campus, and I ask that at least $1,000 of that $5,000 be given to some student in the name of Mrs. Fambro for the great work that she did here. Thank you.
The other special guests we would like to recognize today include the Fort Valley chapter of Links, the Blue Coat Ambassadors, and the residential leadership and community scholars. And our first reflection will come from Mr. Thomas J. Palmer, a former student of our beloved institution.
Who would have thought that Thomas Dock would have to put me up the stairs at Fort Valley State University? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Thomas J. Baumer, a graduate of Fort Valley State College, class of 1955. It was just days shy of my 16th birthday that I enrolled at Fort Valley State College. And under the college president, Dr. Cornelius B. Truth, he welcomed us to our alma mater, our home away from home. I lived in Ohio Hall, on that third floor, room 110. 4 of us was in a room. There were 2 bunk beds. We were comfortable. A big bell would ring. There was a bell out in front of Peabody. And that bell would sound for breakfast. The bell, he would ring for lunch. The bell was for dinner. And you had to be in that dining hall at a certain time after that bell stopped ringing. And at that time in Bishop Hall, we were being served from various tables. All of us you were assigned to a table of 8. And the food was placed on the table, and we had the 3 people at each end of that table was responsible for serving the plate. That was the dining system that we were introduced to under a very stern person, the Reverend Mrs. Fambro. It was in that serving system, if I remember correctly, 3 people were responsible for serving your plate. One person would put on the vegetable, other would put on the meat, other would put on the starch, and pass it back to you. At that time, Ozias Pearson, former dean of students here at Fort Valley State, was a classmate of mine, and he sat at our table, but he was a vegetarian. So somebody at that table got 2 servings of meat. And these are things that we did which made us feel that we were away, although we were away from home, we were at home. By the sophomore year, we changed to the cafeteria style system, where you would come in and go around the wall, and then the people would serve you, and you come back to your place. I had the responsibility of checking students in. You had a card, and you had to show that card, and it was my responsibility as a student worker to check that card, make sure you had the right to be in there. Because of the change to the cafeteria style, we thought that Mrs. Fambro would not be saying that blessing. You know, you would come in, get around on the wall, and she would ring that little bell on the wall, bing, 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 and it was time for the grace. It was there that we were continuing to learn the basics of what is needed in the home. In 1972, Mrs. Fambro was here for the dedication of this building. Actually, she provided the dedicatory message for this particular building. And it was at that time, as we sat there, we said, we ought to be naming this building for Ms. Fambro, because she has been the person that would take care of us. So, because of the 42 years of service to the college and the work she had done in helping to educate the whole student. Now, for those of you who are graduates of Fort Valley State College, when we say the whole student, you have to go and find that little booklet that you had to go through every quarter or the semester and fill out. Well, it was called the scope chart. And it actually brought to your attention the things that you needed to become an outstanding citizen and a good person in this society. And because of her long years of service, it took a few decades longer to get it done. But Dr. Jones, Fort Valley State University, I'm so grateful that Mrs. Junia Jordan Fambro will finally be honored with this beautiful facility bearing her name, an honor she so richly deserves. Thank you.
Our next reflection will be from Mrs. Delia W. Taylor, the 24th Miss Fort Valley State College.
Good afternoon. Dr. Jones, First Lady Jones, nominating committee, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to share this experience. I thank you for allowing me to be a part of this program. Much of the richness of the human experience is what is passed from one person to another and preserved by way of memory. Mrs. Junia J. Fambro, we didn't call her Junia, we called her Junie, was a teacher, dietitian, and sometimes a warden in the dining. As a freshman, I remember Mrs. Fambro walking among the tables during dinner, casually spelling B-R-E-A-D, B-R-E-A-K, B-R-E-A-D, B-R-E-A-K, B-R-E-A-D. She realized that we were first generation students, away from home on our own for the first time. And she knew that if we knew to break our bread at home, as Mr. Dort said, we were going to do it our way when we got here. But she made certain that we kept doing it the way we knew to do it. The food was good as far as college cafeteria food went at that time. Of course, she prepared a special meal on Honors Convocation Day for the honor students. It was worth being an honor student just to get that special meal, and it was certainly special. We had meals that you would never have imagined having been served in a dining hall at that time. One year after I returned from Thanksgiving break, I brought a jar of homemade cha-cha cookies. We were having college for dinner, and I carried the cookies to the dining hall to share with my friends. Apparently, we became louder than usual, and Mrs. Fambro just stood near our table. She looked on as the jar was being passed from one to the other. When the jar stopped at my plate, she eyeballed me for what seemed like forever. When I finally got enough nerve to make eye contact, she didn't say a word, she just kind of nodded her head and moved away. She was sure that I had gotten the message because by this time, no noise was being made. Everybody was quiet. During my senior year, I developed a problem with acid reflux and was given a special diet. I carried the diet to Mrs. Fambro and asked if I could have my food specially prepared. After reading the diet, she said she would make sure I had my meals prepared to specification. It was during this time that I really got to know Mrs. Fambro. She was kind and gentle, and sometimes even fun to talk with. When she learned that I could sew, I became her personal alterations seamstress. She had living quarters in the back of the dining hall, and I used her sewing machine. As I was thinking about what I would say today about Mrs. Fambro, the poem Touching Shoulders came to mind. And I'm going to just share with you one stanza of that poem because it somewhat expresses my memory of Mrs. Fambro. There's a comforting thought at the close of the day when I'm weary and lonely and sad. That sort of grips hold of my crusty old heart and bids it be merry and glad. It gets in my soul and it drives out the blues and finally thrills through and through. It is just a sweet memory, the chance to refrain. I'm glad I touched shoulders with you. Thank you.
Amen.
Our last reflection will come from Alexander Benjamin Lowe, the Student Government Association President, 2020-2021.
Have to get the whole setup together. Good morning, everyone, or actually afternoon. It is a pleasure to address you all today at the grand opening of the Junia J. Fambro Dining Center here at Fort Valley State University. I am Alexander Benjamin Lowe, a third-year mathematics and computer science major hailing from the lovely city of Covington, Georgia, and I humbly serve as this year's Student Government Association President for the 2020-2021 scholastic year. Today, we honor the legacy of Ms. Fambro and celebrate the renovation of our dining center, or for my peers, the CAP. Today, Ms. Fambro is acknowledged as being an esteemed alumna of Fort Valley State University and her time here at Fort Valley State College. When I initially wrote my speech, I wanted to share information about her past and her legacy, but I think all of you are very aware of the many things and the way she's touched you. And for me, I think it's very amazing to be a part of this legacy, and I'm very honored to stand here with the titans who spoke already today. And I thank you all for that. Ms. Fambro, even though I never had the pleasure to meet you, I thank you for your dedication to the students of the history of Fort Valley State University. Since its closing, the Dining Center has seen many renovations. These renovations include electric wiring, water and gas piping, an air conditioning unit, and dishwasher. The entrance and exit have been moved to facilitate cleaner flow of traffic and sanitation practices. Visually, the interior has been updated in opulence, featuring an overall clean design with new lighting and seating arrangements. On behalf of the students of Fort Valley State University, thank you to everyone involved in the project. With everything that has transpired, the student body is elated to begin use of the facility. Again, thank you all for your time. It has been an honor to stand before you all today. And I will close with this. Take the love of your heart, charge it to your mind, and go in peace. Thank you.
And now, we would have remarks by Dr. Paul Jones, the 10th president of Fort Valley State University.
Well, good afternoon. Let's give Mr. and Ms. FVSU a wonderful round of applause for the great work they've done today. Mayor Williams, it's great to see you out today, and we appreciate your ongoing support of this university, and I know you wouldn't have it any other way, but thank you for being here on this incredible and amazing day. Let me also recognize First Lady, Ms. Sylvia Jones, who's with us today. Thank you for continuing to support this university, I think, in an extraordinary way, and you represent it well. Well, what a great day this is in the Valley. I am just elated, and I have to tell you, I sat there and listened long enough that I couldn't help but my eyes just kept watering because the stories are just so touching. You know, this is truly a historically important year in just so many ways. We can count how extraordinary, the extraordinary times that we're in, but more importantly, this year, as Mr. Dortch said, we are celebrating our 125th year as a university. And we are just so excited. A challenging year, but we have so much to be thankful for. And today is just one of those days as we reflect on the many things that we are thankful for, and what an incredible day this is. Throughout the 125 years of our history, there's been numerous individuals who have made an incredible impact on the lives of our students. But as you've already learned from those who spoke earlier, it is rare that you find someone who has made such a lasting and profound impression like Ma Fambro, as they affectionately called her. So it's so fitting that we honor this Center for Junia J. Fambro, who shaped FVSU students for 40 plus years. Her legacy, discipline, etiquette, and professionalism is memorable and well worth us celebrating today. She was an extraordinary servant leader. As I said, touched countless lives of our Wildcats. I have to tell you, shortly after I arrived here on campus and did a tour of this campus, it became clear to me that this was one of the first places that we needed to address outside of some of the demolition that we needed to do. That this facility needed a massive renovation. And when you have an opportunity to go inside, you'll think I didn't even use the appropriate word for that. But we needed a place. And I had this vision of renovation of a center that we wanted to create a place that was welcoming for our students, a place that they would be proud of, proud to dine in, a place where they can engage, and they would have a sense of pride and fellowship with one another. And I have to tell you this brief story. We were thinking about, we had made the decision, the board had supported the renovation of this facility, and one of the things that I often thought about was the name on the building, which said Food Service Center. It seemed just such an outdated name, much like the infirmary. And I thought we didn't want to reopen this facility and have it be the food service center. But we needed to figure out what to do, and I didn't know quite what to do. But I remember just out of the blue one day, this man comes to my office, and it was Dr. Ira Hicks. He came to see me about a couple of items, but during that conversation, I was going to say brief conversation, but it was really not brief. You know Dr. Hicks. But during that conversation, he said to me, young man, we need to rename that dining center, or food service center, he called it, after Miss Fambro. He encouraged me to look into it. And at the time when he was sort of explaining to me, it didn't really resonate why we were, who was she, So I didn't know at the time, but he said a few things, and I guess he just wanted me to look into it. And he said it's something that this institution had wanted to do for a long time. And so as I said, we knew that we wanted to rename the center, and I wanted it to be a name that conveyed that sense of community and fellowship, as I mentioned. So as I started to learn a little bit about Miss Fambro, I thought I would begin to start talking to some of the alums in various settings. But I wouldn't tell them why I was asking about Ma Fambro. I just wanted them to tell me about it. And some of you in the audience actually remember probably a conversation or two that we had when I asked you about it. Over and over and over, when I mentioned her name, it was like I needed to lay down on the couch and listen to all the stories. And half the time I wanted to laugh, and other times I wanted to cry, because this incredible individual there were just such amazing stories about her. And I knew she was very significant. And the more and more we thought about it, we decided, and I got with Vice President Holloman, and our process makes us go through the foundation, and we decided that we would put forth a recommendation to the Board of Regents, because on any facility that's an external facility, the naming is approved by the Board of Regents. So we put together this package, submitted it to the board, and on May 12th, 2020, by unanimous decision, the Board of Regents approved the naming of the Junia J. Fambro Dining Center. Really, that was a very special day, and I couldn't wait to share that with some of my colleagues and a couple of the alumni, because I knew that this would be very special to them. While this tribute is significant, I want to shift just a little bit and recognize several individuals who helped bring this vision to life, this vision of this center. And you know that in any project such as this, there are countless people who contribute to the hard work and creativity and their expertise to such a project. And the Junia J. Fambro Dining Center is really no exception. And so let me begin by recognizing some important people. Let me first start with Lyman, Davison, and Dooley architectural firm, who did a complete transformation of this facility. We have here today Mr. David McBrayer and Roland Davison. Our construction company on this project, Mr. Scott Garrison and Mr. Keith Garrison. Thank you so much. I have to also recognize Mr. Ed Dufresne, our Director of Facilities Management, He couldn't have come at a better time. There he is. He's in the shade. And he really did a wonderful job of making sure we stayed on task. Also, let me recognize Vice President Jesse Kane, and there were others who served on a sort of initial committee as we start thinking about the naming of also the projects inside the different stations inside the facility, and helping to give a vision to what maybe this facility needed for our students today. So Vice President Kane, thank you so much. And also Vice President Anthony Holloman, or Dr. Holloman, is he's over there. He's also in the shade. I don't know what this means, but they're smarter than we are. But we thank them. And also, just a incredible thanks for our IT and special office and special events for their work, and public safety all played a key role in making sure that we, at the end of the day, ended up with the facility that our students deserve. And also, let me give an incredible shout out to Mr. Samson Oyugini. I never used it, I just call him Samson. But he's a project manager for the University System of Georgia. And thank you so much for your ongoing support. And we got several more projects lined up for you. But he's done a great job. And also Mr. Jason Tate, General Manager for Sodexo. He made sure that he'd been in this facility for a long time. I think 15 plus years or some long time. Well, it seemed like 15, 6, okay. Well, you were just telling me stories then. I guess he really wanted a new facility. But he was very instrumental also in helping us think about what was needed. And of course, an incredible shout out to the Georgia General Assembly. We can't do this kind of project unless we get the support of our delegation. Of course, there are many fine representatives who made sure they were champions for this project. And so we thank the entire General Assembly for supporting this project. I should say that this project was actually 2 projects combined. And the more we opened up this facility, the more we realized that all of that money was going to have to be shifted to this project. But you'll see very shortly that the money was well spent. So let's give all of them a round of applause for making sure that we brought this project to reality. So now is for that culminating moment, that you're all here for this culminating moment. And I want to ask several to join me here on the podium. Obviously, Mr. and Ms. Fort Valley State, Thomas George, Pastor Palmer. Well, they already know who they are. Come on up. Of course, our student government president, Alexander Lowe. Go. Ready? Help me count. 1, 2, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Junia J. Fambro Dining Center. While you stay up here, let me just say a couple of other quick things. And I want to thank all of you for joining us today, and I know for many of you, it's the first time that you've probably been out in this sort of public setting. It's almost like we have a crowd of 1,000, because we are used to seeing only 3 or 4. So thank you for coming out for this magnificent project. I want to give a special thank you, though, to Miss Junia Jackson. She did an amazing job of doing all of the research to make sure that we knew everything we needed to know about Ma Fambro. And I don't know how many hours you spent, but I know it was countless hours. And thank you so much for the incredible work you did to make this possible. I want to say also special R.J. Mathis, who's, I call him my assistant, but I think I'm his assistant. No kidding. But Just has done a fabulous job of making all of this happen and making sure we stayed on task, and he drives us all. And we appreciate that. Thanks to all of the speakers for your amazing stories. And I want to just say this before we go inside the facility. This today is a soft opening. So when you have a soft opening, undoubtedly when you go inside, there will be just a few things that are just not quite finished yet. We tried to push it as much as we could, but you'll notice a few things. There's a couple of signs that we're waiting to come in, and a few other little small things, and a punch list starts next week, I believe. But you'll still find a fabulous facility, and we will soon have it ready, even though our students will have the ribbon cutting on Monday, and they will enter the facility, and we'll just work around it. I also want to just point out to you that you're sitting in the sort of Greek walk area right now, and I know it looks like we should have done something here, and there is great plan. Where you're sitting, this is going to be part of our new vibrant pedestrian corridor, and a new corridor that will help connect what I call upper and the lower campus, as it will connect us across the campus. So this area will be repaved down the road, and we will find a new wonderful location for our Greek plots, and we're looking forward. We're working on that process now and looking forward to what's in store there. This is all part of our master plan that we're working, and we are also elated behind you, and I know they want us to hurry and finish, and you do as well, but the construction going on right now for our new outdoor amphitheater, which will be open in February. We'll seat about 600. It will be a wonderful outdoor venue for our students and for our community to use, and they are well underway, and we can't wait to take advantage of that facility. And then if I can just point to Davison Hall right behind you here. Davison Hall is also in the first phase of our new project. We're in the design phase. We have now an architectural firm selected, and so this year we'll be going through all the designing of what will become the new academic facility for our business department and our social and behavioral sciences department. It's an incredible facility, and this year during general session, support us as we'll be going back to the General Assembly for the construction funds. At the end of the day, it'll be about a $13 million project, and we just can't wait to get into that facility as well. So as you can see, there's a lot going on. We have a couple of other construction projects that will be underway here. Design phase is starting with the Kell Building downtown, which will become our new Center for Agribusiness, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship. And so we're working towards that. A new expansion on the meat technology facility will be starting shortly as well. So as I said earlier, it is a great day in the valley. And so I ask you to join me today as we tour now the new, and it is new, the new Junia J. Fambro Dining Center. The doors are open.